Okay, first, I will start with the background and history of the problem. I call it the problem of education funding in the United States of America. A little detail. College student loans in America debt is higher than it's ever been, according to the article Berman 2016. The article states that student loan debts have reached staggering proportions in the trillions of dollars. The total outstanding student loan debt in the U.S. is $1.2 trillion. That's the second highest level consumer debt behind only mortgage. Most of the loans are held by the federal government, and bullet points past tense. About 40 million Americans hold student loans, and about 70% of bachelor degrees recipients graduate with debt. The class of 2015 graduated with $35,000 in student debt on average, the most in history, according to one website. 1 in 4 student loan borrowers are either in delinquency or default on their student loans, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The amount of student debt that we as a nation are incurring is going to cripple us as we attempt to compete in industry, science, and economics on the global stage. The article further mentions how this staggering amount of debt is crippling college graduates' abilities to pay for new cars and retirements. Student loans can also have different consequences depending on age. While the debts may prevent younger borrowers from buying a home or car or reaching other economic milestones, older borrowers are at risk of losing their retirement benefits. About 36,000 Americans lost a portion of their Social Security check in 2013 due to, drumroll, an unpaid federal student loan. And that's according to the Government Accountability Office. Student loans first came into being in, Student loans first came into being according to student loans provided by banks and nonprofit lenders in 1965, creating the program that is now called the Federal Family Educational Loan. However, there was a different student loan attempt started in the National Defense Education Act of 1958, where direct loans capitalized with U.S. Treasury funds following a recommendation of economist Milton Friedman. According to the article, when Congress wanted to extend this program, budget rules made the guarantee approach seem more effective. So now that we have a more precise definition of the history of student loans and current economic crisis that is the potential to cripple the futures of our best and brightest, let's look to the next section. The current definition of student loans, and I pulled this from Student Loan Webster's website, a loan offered to students which is used to pay off education-related expenses such as college tuition, room, board at the university, or textbooks. Many of these loans are offered to students at a lower interest rate, such as the Perkins loan or Stafford loan. What began as a way to help all Americans afford the college education that they could earn by their grades and hard work has deteriorated into a bloated loans-for-profit industry that is only interested in acquiring monies for their own profit at the expenses of these future graduates that are best equipped. These future graduates are best equipped to defend America's place on the world's economic stage. Short-term greed and the buddy system of the loan-for-profit industry will eventually drag this country into a mountain of debt that no amount of private citizen effort can ever pay off. Our once proud country will suffer the loss of economic futures and freedom as we become a suffragette of any country that buys up our debt, and we become essentially a colony. The methodology I've used to state this concept is taken from current education and economic articles, as well as historical data available to document the rise of our crippling student loan debt. The actors involved in this are, to a large part, the Republican Congress and their budget moves, the for-profit student loan industry, President Obama and his Student Loan Forgiveness Act, the colleges that use different types of loans, and potentially all future college applicants in the U.S. Department of Education. The future looks bleak for many Americans and universities, but are there any possible opportunities to our current fiscal dilemma? Now, in the next segment, I'll begin to talk about the European countries. Now, as we begin this segment, talking about the 7 countries in Europe and Brazil that offer free college education to their all residents, and some even offer free education to U.S. citizens. Finland and Germany being tops among them. There's an excellent article in the BradenTimes.com by Dennis Molley on Sunday, May 27, 2016. Should the U.S. be aiming towards free higher education? In it, he talks about Bernie Sanders and his advocacy in regards to that to this policy. And I'd like to congratulate the presidential candidate, Mr. Sanders, for thinking along my terms. Well done, Bernie. You think like me. And additional, we mentioned Obama, and Obama stuff. There's an article from InsideHigherEd.com, 2015-09, and it talks about how Obama is stepping up his push for free education. Now, his plan is free education in all community colleges, and then you move on. The independent. Okay, so I'd like to congratulate our president, Mr. Obama, on once again thinking like me. Mr. Sanders, Mr. Obama, I like to call him Barack. You guys are rocking it, man. You're knocking it out because you think like me. That's the humor part. Thank you. So a lot of times you'll read articles in Bloomberg and places like this, and they want to talk about free education in these countries, Germany, Sweden, etc. is not really free. And what they want to talk about is the ton of taxes paid by the residents and with the standard of living, and how it costs so much more there that you think you're getting a free education, but you're not. And they like to mention Sweden as one of their examples, because in Sweden a lot of students graduate with debt, and the tuition is free. The cost of living is not. You have to pay your own rent and you have to buy your food. And as we look at just a second. So when we look at the cost of living in Sweden, we'll find that the average on prices for consumer goods is 9% higher than America. However, everything else, including rent, food, etc., is lower than the average cost in America. So why do students graduate with debt? Because even though they don't need to take out loans, they're offered to them. And as a college student, and many of you probably agree with me, that if somebody offers you a loan, and that's money that you can have while you're going to college, the majority of people are going to take it. So that is why. But you look at the standard of living in Sweden; it's higher. Cost for education, medical, average hours worked per citizen, vacation times. Their standard of living is higher than ours, and the only price in their country higher is consumer goods, and that's 9-point-something% than America. So when these guys want to tell you that there is no such thing as a free education, and they're talking about what they're doing is they're talking about the cost of living. I'm sorry. Hang on a second. I'm looking at the cost of living in Slovenia versus the United States, and across the board, everything but local purchasing power is lower than it is in the United States. Consumer prices, rent prices, restaurant, groceries are all lower. Local purchasing power in Slovenia is 36% lower than the United States, so your money's not going to go as far. Education is largely financed by the public. Sorry about that. Anyway, so in conclusion, we've looked at all these countries, and we've seen that they offer free education as a way of life. And the critics in America and other countries that want to point and say nothing is free, and they talk about the amount of taxes you pay in Sweden and Finland, and so they like to imply that you're losing your financial freedom at the cost of gaining free education. I simply say that's not true. If you look at the facts, cost of living almost in every one of these countries, the cost of living standard is higher and expenses are lower than the United States. In Sweden, where they like to say, well, look at these students graduating with debt. I say to you, that's because a for-profit loan industry is saying, hey, look, here's free money. Here's a good deal. And being a college student who wants money in their pocket, almost 100% of the people there take on those loans, even though they're not necessary for the tuition. Brazil was kind of an iffy situation. Germany, by far, seems to be the best place for Americans to look at going to school. And thank you. And when I come back, there's one more website I found that talks about why the need for free education is now. So I want to load that up, and we'll come back with my conclusion and recommendation. Thank you very much. Okay, as we reach the conclusion of this report, I'm looking at truthout.org opinion, and it says, why free education can't wait. And this was published 22nd of November of 2015. And it talks about Vermont Senator and Democratic presidential hopeful Bernie Sanders has come out in support of free public education. So once again, what I want to do is congratulate presidential hopeful Mr. Sanders for thinking like me and agreeing with my higher wisdom, and truth.org for pointing out the facts that lead to the fact that we need free public education in this country in order to compete on the global stage and not bury this country in student loans that will never get out from under, and to put the burden, our best and our brightest, with the shackles of debt that they will have to carry all their lives, and even into elderly years when they want to retire, and their Social Security check will be cut because of a student loan. Our best and brightest will be burdened. You can say that they'll be enslaved all of their lives for the penalty of trying to go to college, get a better education so they can better represent this country in the global economic marketplace and preserve the standard of living that we as Americans and I as a person enjoy. Why should we burden them? Why should we put a penalty on people that want to be successes in life? They want to make this country great. They want to continue to keep this country great. Their intentions are good. Why would we put anybody into a debtor's prison for the rest of their life simply because they want to achieve? Thank you very much. My name is Steve Hayes, and this is for a homework assignment. Thank you very much.